Well, it's no secret that some boomers and their parents are ailing, failing, and falling apart just a bit. That and other things caused John DeHart and Ken Sim to start a unique home healthcare business called Nurse Next Door. It is my pleasure to welcome John DeHart and Ken Sim to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Fanny.
You don't look like nurses to me.
We're not nurses.
You're not.
That's the secret. So, you know, and I think when we started the company, we've both had personal experiences with caregiving. And so going through that caregiving experience ourselves really showed us what home health care is and why home health care has to become a major pillar in our healthcare system. And so it was really through that personal experience that we both had that we realized this is what we have to do. And we don't have to be nurses to do it.
You don't have to be nurses to do it, and you don't have to do anything about bedpans or anything,
That's
because
right.
I don't think that's up your alley. But thank goodness it's up someone's alley, because as you know, home health care, good home health care, difficult to find, and something we will all need one day, I suspect, unless we just drop on the golf course. So the personal experiences, what happened to you?
Well, for me personally, I have two stories. I was looking for someone for my mom, but the big thing with us when we first started the company was John and I had been introduced through a mutual mentor, Milt Wong, and he put us together. Absolutely.
Milton Wong introduced you. Very good.
And John has a great story about that. I know he'll share it with us. But when we were, after we were introduced, we were looking to start a business together or purchase a business. At the same time, my wife was pregnant with her first child, and one day got a phone call out of the blue. She basically said that she was put on emergency bed rest. And so we panicked. We went through the yellow pages. We called up a couple of home care companies, and the wildest thing happened. We interviewed some people, and they could have been the greatest people in the world with great caregiving abilities. But what really scared me was the fact that one of the caregivers was put into her home, and I asked her a little bit about the organization she worked with. And she responded with, well, I don't really know too much about the organization. I just faxed in my resume 2 days ago, and I had never met the person. And we're inviting this person into our house. So it was pretty scary.
Are you bonded?
Absolutely.
Do you know what you're doing? Yeah. All of the above. But you were an investment banker to begin with, correct?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, so I was an investment banker for about 5 years, and asked myself, was this the passion that I had? And the answer was no. And so, I left investment banking back in 2001 to pursue my passion of, making a difference.
Did the thought run through your head, it's not about the money?
Absolutely.
I don't know if all investment bankers make money, but a lot do. So
Yep.
you're thinking, well, if you're in investment banking, firstly, usually you can make some big money. So you must have had that thought.
Well,
at some point.
Absolutely. The decision we had was before I resigned from the investment bank I was working with, we had two incomes. My wife was working, I was working, great incomes. We weren't pregnant yet.
I see.
And we found out we were pregnant 2 weeks before I was handing in my formal resignation. And we had this decision point. Should I resign? Because our whole world was going to change. And I knew that I wanted to be the soccer dad. I knew I wanted to spend, we don't have a lot of time on this planet, and it wasn't about the money, it was about pursuing the passion.
Right, and you weren't that close to the soup line, but you never know. So, John, you?
I actually came from the technology industry, so I spent a number of years launching high-tech companies, different places in the world. And after being in that industry for about 8 or 9 years, I had come to a stage where I realized that there's more than money. And in technology, people have great missions of connecting computers and connecting people through technology. And for me, I had a greater purpose. And I really wanted to do something really around my core values, and to make sure that I could grow a company, create a company that is core value driven. And so I left the high-tech industry, and you know, a lot of money was made in that industry.
Right.
So it really wasn't about the money for me. It was more about finding my purpose and my core values.
A company that spoke to your heart.
Absolutely.
And didn't you have a grandmother who had Alzheimer's who needed care?
I did. It was funny. After Ken and I met, we started looking at different opportunities in Vancouver, and when Ken went through his experience with his wife, I had a grandmother with Alzheimer's that was actually living in a nursing home, and she was very isolated, and so I tried to hire a caregiver for my grandmother as well, and had similar experiences as Ken. But I think the main thing is, when you find the right fit, when you find the right match, the right caregiver match with the right person, it's beautiful. That's what makes people happy. It's what keeps them going, and so it took me a couple times to find that right match, but the power of that is amazing.
Exactly, because it doesn't only keep the patient going, it keeps all the people surrounding the patient, the people who love the patient or sometimes don't love the patient, doesn't really matter, but you feel much happier if somebody's well taken care of.
That's right.
When you're not there.
And it's much more than just the senior, it's the whole family. When we started the business, we thought seniors are our clients. What we realize now, it's the entire family. It's the baby boomers. Our typical customer is actually the daughter of the parent that calls us to say, I need some help.
Why isn't it ever the son? Well, sometimes it is,
Sometimes
but
it
it does fall, and sometimes even if it's not your parent, there's something about being female.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You could be the wife of, and you're taking care of his parents too.
That is typically the case.
I know.
Yeah. And so most of our team members are women as well.
Gee.
Natural caregivers.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'll take that. The name, Nurse Next Door. Did you roll that around for a while? Did you call it many things before you called it Nurse Next Door?
Well, the funny thing is, when we first started being technology or having technology or investment banking backgrounds and marketing backgrounds, we thought, okay, well, maybe it should be at-home care or whatever. And we actually went through a huge process of trying to find the right name. Nurse Next Door was actually our 17th choice.
17th.
Yeah. And, you know, I think we're incredibly fortunate because, you know, it worked. And the funny thing is now, everyone remembers Nurse Next Door.
And a nurse is male or female.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And it could have been nurse. I bet you talked about this. Should it be nurses next door or just
We did.
one nurse next door?
Well, it's interesting. I know a study came out in Canada 6 months ago, and it looked at respected professions. And I think firemen were the #1 respected profession in Canada. Nurses were second.
Really?
So it's a very
I understand
trusted-
that, having had a little experience in the hospital, the nurses
Yes.
take very good care of you. And
Amazing people.
Absolutely.
amazing people in the middle of the night when you're not feeling your best.
And-
You
yeah.
bet. How did Milton Wong help you?
It's actually an interesting story. It goes back to, we sort of have a sliding doors story where we actually both lived in London in the same neighborhood in Chelsea at the same time where the very first Starbucks in Europe was. And we're both big Starbucks fans. And so we actually did go there every day, but we didn't know each other.
In fact, we probably sat beside each other every single day.
Come
And-
on.
Yeah.
Little kismet, but not.
Not.
Yeah.
Then we both moved to Toronto and worked in the same building on Bay Street with the common Starbucks at the very bottom of that building. Both
Right.
went there every day, didn't meet each other. And we ended up moving to Vancouver within the same month to come and settle down out in Vancouver. And the first person I called was my mentor, Milton Wong. 3 days after I got into the city, and I went and met Milton. I said, Milton, here's what I want to do.
Right.
And Milton said, wow, I just had a young man come into me and say the same thing. You guys have to meet. So that's how we ended up getting together. And when we realized we wanted to start a home health care company and take care of seniors, we went back to Milt and said, Milt, this is what we want to do.
Milton, hand me the money. No.
Well, it was interesting. He instantly got it. He instantly realized within minutes that this is sort of the vision of the Canadian healthcare system, and that community-based healthcare has to become an important pillar of our system.
Exactly. The flaws, we know, timely access to care, one of the
Absolutely.
flaws, and something that everybody's working on very seriously. What do you do at Nurse Next Door? Who do you hire? How does it work?